We were wondering where everyone was.
We were just waiting for you.
Never popped up. All right, how many people do we have? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 people. Let me see. We do need for a quorum. So we have at least 5. We make numbers correct. Right. There's Tara. 2, 4. We just need one more person for a quorum, and then we can begin. So,
Excellent.
there we go. Now we have a quorum.
Scott. There he is.
Perfect. All right.
Okay, so are we live? If they
Yes, we
Flip the
should be
switch.
live. I'm gonna just close this door. All right, if you want to start us off.
Is this
Okay.
being recorded, Rachel?
Yes, it is.
Perfect.
Welcome to the Off-Highway Vehicle Advisory Council meeting to review RTP grants. Today is Friday, May 20th. Let's go ahead and do introductions. My name is Ron Tolman. I am the full-size four-wheel drive representative on the council, and I'm also serving as the chair at this time. And Rachel, if you want to do maybe a roll call so people know when it's their turn to speak.
I'll just
Go around and introduce everybody.
quickly say myself, Rachel Toker. I am the grant administrator for the Fiscal Incentive Grant as well as the Recreational Trails Program grant. Brody.
Brody Johnson, ATV representative.
Fred.
Does my speaker work?
Yes, it does.
Oh, it does? Okay, cool. Good deal. My name's Scott Wheeler. I represent the off-road motorcycle interests. Live in Price, Utah, and I go riding quite often.
All right, Fred.
I'm Fred Christensen, and I represent the ATV safety.
Okay. Jason.
You say Jason or Tyson? I can never tell.
Jason with a J.
Okay.
All right. I think you're muted. Oh, go ahead.
Is it working now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Jason Blanknagel, member at large.
Okay. Tyson.
Tyson Todd with Trust Lands Administration.
Okay. And then internally, Chase.
I'm Chase Peely. I'm the Off-Highway Vehicle Program Manager now.
Nice. Patrick.
Hey everyone, I'm Patrick. I'm a program specialist in the Office of Outdoor Recreation. Just kind of here to watch this awesome process. So,
And then Tara.
Hi, I'm Tara McKee. I'm with the Office of Outdoor Recreation now, but soon to be in the Division of Natural Resources in the new Division of Outdoor Recreation and managing grant programs, all types. And I'm excited to get in and learn more about the FIG. So.
All right, well, welcome. We've, hopefully this won't be too long of a meeting. We've only got 4 grants to review today. Before we get started, Chase, as program director, do you have any comments for us or any words of wisdom?
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit. I'm obviously new to this side of things, so I'm mainly here to learn about the RTP stuff. Just some things going on with the program is we've been working on House Bill 180 heavily. We've included a working group together with Tread Lightly as well as Grand County. And so I've been getting ideas from everyone. I talked to Scott Wheeler about it a little bit on our ride this last week, and he does ride quite a bit off-highway motorcycles. So it was very humbling to ride with him. So yeah, we've been diving into that. Hopefully we'll have the actual test here made up in the next couple weeks, and then we'll start diving down the process of actually getting it implemented. So that's taking up the majority of my time, is just getting that ready for January of 2023. And then I've just been working on projects here and there with our Utah Snowmobile Association, getting our grooming numbers all wrapped up for the year. And then we have a few projects going into the summer with our trail crew. Our trail crew just did their first project this last week down in Moab with Cliff Coons. And so I talked with him actually when got back just yesterday from a ride with Cliff down in the new Raptor State Park area. So we got some ideas on how we can improve trail systems there, and then how we can just improve trail systems statewide. So hopefully we can get the trail crew able to help out everyone as needed. And we're also having them help out with Tara's project, and maybe she can talk later about it. My trails workshop down in Cedar City. So we're definitely busy, and we're heading into a busy season with our trail crew and everyone else on the.
And you didn't even mention the High Desert Trail, Chase.
Yes, that's another. Sorry, that's probably the biggest project we're diving into. So we're having our first meeting beginning of June, and that's gonna be big. So from Washington County up to Box Elder County, and I love being able to work with a lot of familiar faces. With a lot of the tourism entities there. So I've worked with some of them. So I'm excited to get started on that and seeing how our trail crew can help out with that program as well. So yeah, that's just a brief synopsis. I'm sure I've left out a lot because as everyone said, we got our plate full at the OHV program. So if you want to add more, we'll add more, but we're going to take it one bite at a time. So Rachel's shaking her head. Sorry. She's like, don't add anymore. So my bad. That's it for me.
Yeah, one thing that will be off your plate, though, Chase, is the RTP.
Yes, and I am thankful for that. And Rachel's doing an amazing job with RTP and FIG. So definitely that's taken a lot of load off of the OHV program manager. I'm able to help out with a lot of other entities, and it's also given me the ability to go ride bikes with Scott sometimes. So I'm grateful for that. So thank you.
All right, let's go ahead and get into this. First item on our agenda is public comment. My understanding is that a provision for public comments to be sent in advance there was not a provision for that. So what are options for public comments? How do we know if somebody, I guess they would be here?
Yes,
Okay.
ultimately
Or they would have reached out?
the meeting link was posted on the public notice website this time
Okay.
around, just because we only have 4 grants to review and it's more work than anything. So we haven't received any public comments. No one's reached out to us regarding these 4 individual grants whatsoever. So there really ultimately was not a need for it this time around.
And nobody's clicked on the link to be here, so.
No.
We'll go ahead and move on then. Review of motorized RTP grant proposals. Hopefully, it looked like on submittable that pretty much everybody had an opportunity to review the grants and to rate them or rank them and make some comments. I'll turn the time over to you, Rachel. You run us through them. Take care of this.
Yeah. So as you can see, can you guys all see this spreadsheet? I can't see anyone, so I don't.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Sorry. Okay. So we received 4 applications. Obviously, prior to this, we, with all of the applications, we had some additional funding left. So what we did is this past week, we reached out to every applicant. So we have 19 total, seeing if they were interested in applying for additional funding, and they had to get those in. Those updated budgets in today by 12 p.m. Just for everyone to know, we received, I believe, 8 of them, 2 of them for Motorized. So again, we do still have some additional funding. Thankfully, it's down to only $135,000. And we have the option of either increasing grants or having that funding roll to next year. So again, ultimately that's the decision. I know that we'll have a combined meeting with both advisory councils. So please just keep that in mind that this is our first meeting for RTP. We still have to do the one for non-motorized. So unless a project has things that they severely underestimated the cost of, then I think that we should probably ultimately stick with the percentages that we have, the funding that we have, requests that we have. Over here, these are our submittable scores. Fred abstained from one of them because he had a letter of support. And then Kirk has not filled out his, but everyone else has. So I don't know if we just want to go through and
just take them in order. Let's discuss them.
All right, I can pull them up here. All right. So I guess I'll just do an overview real quickly. All right, so the first one is Fish Lake Heavy Trail Maintenance for 2023. It's from Fish Lake National Forest. It's a multi-county project. They're requesting $58,200, 53% match. Total project cost of $122,000. They did not submit in updated budget. But is there any discussion that we have on this one or thoughts? Take that as a no. So, okay.
Oh, hey, I'm sorry. Did you ask me a question?
Oh, no, I asked if anyone had any discussion or thoughts on this.
I put in my comments on submittable. I love to see trail work and on the ground trail maintenance, and this these are trail systems in this area that are pretty heavily used and that cross multiple jurisdictions as far as county governments. I think it's a good place to spend money.
Anything else from anyone? Okay, all right, I guess we'll just go right into scoring. All right, so Cheryl's not here. She said that she'll be on later. Brody.
Yes.
All right, Jason.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Tyson.
Yes.
And Ron.
Yes.
Okay. I need to fix something with my formulas, but that one did pass. I'll fix the formulas later when we're when I'm not sharing a screen. All right, so moving on to the next one. This is for the Saving Lives Through Trail Conditions Monitoring for Skyline Avalanche Forecasting. It's from the Forest Service Utah Avalanche Center. It is a multi-county. They did increase their budget request. Formerly, it was $35,000, and now it is $71,000. Sorry, let me just switch screens. Okay, if we want to look at that budget, it has been included here in the internal form. This is just an overview of what they're doing with it. And then scrolling down, this is their new budget. As you can see, it looks like they really did just add an additional $36,000 to the item that they were already intending to use funding for. Is there any discussion on this? You guys are quiet today.
So Rachel, when I first reviewed all of these, 3 of these grant applications are snow related. And you and I were talking earlier about maybe why that is. Can you explain maybe why these RTP applications seem so heavy in snow? Because my first thought was, we're not spending our money we're not balancing different recreation users, but can you explain why maybe the applications might have come in this way?
Yeah, so ultimately we've received a decrease in RTP motorized applications since the fiscal incentive grant came to be, because with the federal funding, there are some limitations with it. And ultimately, I think that there's just more funding available for off-highway vehicle items through the fiscal incentive grant. But the one limitation with the fiscal incentive grant is currently snowmobile items. I know that internally within our division, we are looking into to see also if we can add funding towards the fiscal incentive grant for snowmobile related projects. I believe our Attorney General and also Chase are looking into that currently. So that is why you will see the majority of these being snowmobile related items, because currently the fiscal incentive grant does not allow for that.
So this is the only grant program they could
Yes, yeah.
apply for. Okay, that was a question I had, that was a thought I had, and I thought that was important to share, and Rachel's much more eloquent and understands it better, so thank you.
You're welcome. So do we have any discussion on this? All right. Okay. Brody?
Yes.
Okay. Jason?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Tyson?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Gonna fix that later. All right, so on to our next one. This one also requested additional funding. This is for the Trailhead Avalanche Conditions Reporting Project for the Utah Avalanche Center. It's a multi-county project. They're requesting $26,651.26. Their request prior was only $16,958.12. So they did increase that. Going into the project budget. Let's see. So I will say that there are a couple items in the project budget that do pertain to education. I've gone through and we with the current request, we have not met the match. Well, we haven't met the threshold for the 5% education. Ultimately, this is what we are intending to fund. Is there any discussion on this grant or their budget or anything?
I had a question. The way the wording, the way it was worded, the application mentioned that there was a project had both a motorized and non-motorized component. Was there a separate application to the non-motorized
Yes.
So we're looking only, so there's actually two different applications.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, so they applied for a motorized as well as a non-motorized application. It doesn't appear that they've matched funds, so that is not an issue. Sorry, I just want to look at something. I can't tell if the screen's just too small or what. What does that one say? 26652126. I'm blind. Well, looking at this, there's just a little issue with their RTP funding because with the breakout, it looks like they're only requesting $24,000, $24,800. But with this one, it looks like they're requesting $26,651. Did not notice that. All right.
Was there a different down lower? Was there?
Well, so
Or-
this is their RTP funding.
Right.
And then I just don't know if it looks as though. So
So
11,000.
there might be a typo in their budget.
Yeah. 11,000. So I guess that oh, there it is right there. The second line. So it looks like they just didn't extend their cost. And then oh no, no way.
See if that-
8124. So it just looks like this item right here is, they probably did not change it over. Let's see their initial budget, line number 2. Yeah, it looks like they didn't change it. So they are intending to request the $26,651, but they just messed up there, and that's fine.
Okay, that's something that you can deal with?
Yeah.
Administratively?
Yeah, that's just a quick little thing I can do on my own. So,
Okay.
all right, is there any discussion? Kind of quiet tonight. All right, I am going to move on to scoring. All right, Brody,
Yes.
okay, Jason,
Yes.
okay, Scott,
Yes.
Tyson,
Yes.
Fred,
Yes.
and Ron.
Yes.
And lastly, this is our avalanche beacon checkpoints and warming hut repairs on the Nebo Scenic Byway. This is from Friends of Central Utah Winter Recreation. It's taking place in Juab in Utah. They're only requesting $4,000 with a total project cost of $8,000. Do we have any discussion on this one? They did not submit additional funding. All right. So yeah, it looks like they're just trailer jack package and questions. Any input? No? Okay, all right. well,
Anybody else? Okay,
All right,
let's go ahead and rate it.
great. Brody?
Yes.
You say Fred?
What?
Brody says yes.
Great. Jason?
Yes.
Right. Scott?
Yes.
Tyson?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
And Ron?
Yes.
All right. Obviously, this number is funded. Again, sorry about my formulas. So I guess we can move on to the next item, unless there's any other discussion.
Sounds like that.
Okay.
All right, next item is an action item. And that's approval of the recommendation, the spreadsheet we have. It looks like we would be recommending all of these grants. I would entertain a motion to take action.
I recommend that I recommend that we accept all of the grants as currently written.
Okay, and that is a motion.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor, let's do a roll call
Okay.
on that.
Scott?
Yes.
Okay. Fred?
Yes.
Tyson?
Yes.
And Ron?
Yes.
Great. Passes.
All right, well, that was much less cumbersome than it has been in past years. Although if you add up the number of hours we've spent on FIG grants in the meantime, we've put in our time on those, haven't we? Unless there's an objection, I think we'll skip the break portion of the meeting, since I'm not worn out yet. Next item is also an action item, and that is approval of the minutes for the May 19th, 2021 Motorized RTP meeting. I would entertain first of all, is there any discussion or anything anybody noticed that needs corrected or updated? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the last year's RTP grant meeting.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor? Let's do a roll call again.
All right. Jason?
I'll abstain because I wasn't part of that meeting.
Okay. Fred?
That was probably the first meeting I even went to. So I guess I approve. Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Right, you made the motion. Sorry, Brody did. Who am I missing? Oh, Tyson.
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Great.
All right, next item. This is an important one to Scott. In our last meeting, Scott brought up having a meeting where the council sits together and discusses kind of what we would like as far as OHV mapping, and to schedule a meeting for that, because the way this council is set up and the fact that we're public, that these are public meetings, we can only take that type of action if we've got it on the agenda. So it is on the agenda now. Is there any thoughts or discussions about when we could have the mapping meeting discussion? Do you have any thoughts, Scott? This was kind of I think your idea.
Should we talk about it a little bit right now? Or we have to discuss when we're gonna have it? I guess we'll have to, what does it say there? It says approve.
I think we got to schedule a meeting.
Yes.
We got to schedule a public meeting.
Okay. When would it be? Yeah,
Intention.
probably the
Oh.
same.
Sorry.
Rachel's telling me that we do, since it's on the agenda, we can discuss it a little bit.
Oh, we can discuss it then, you say?
That was
Right.
my intention behind it, is that's why I left 15 minutes is for partly a discussion and also having a date that we decide.
Okay, so do you want me to talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and tell
I,
us your thoughts.
actually, Chase and I had a discussion when we went out riding. Actually, we stopped multiple times and we talked about several different issues. And one of those things was mapping. And actually, Chase has a pretty good background. And I was interested in some of the things he was showing that he had used the last year or so, and I was intrigued. I did some research and I looked at what the state had, the UGRC, which is a state organization that handles GIS data. They actually have quite a bit of information on just trails there. It looks like the data they have might be dated information, and that it might need to be categorized and updated to where when you access it, you can pull out information you want. But I'm thinking that that we need to have some type of a central hub that we push data to from the Forest Service, from the BLM, maybe from county entities, that we have the central database that you can go extract information out of. The biggest dilemma would be is to categorize the information that's put in there. What that trail, who is it for, who can use it, maybe the difficulty levels of using it. That would be the crux of putting this together. I'm thinking that might be a project big enough that if we were to start this, that you would include non-motorized entities in that, including, equestrian, hiking trails, and maybe approach the state and say, hey, this is our idea. I'm sure some of the other organizations have talked about this, but maybe approach the state in a manner that say, we would need some help in putting this together, and maybe look at each of the counties and see what information they have. Look at the Forest Service, the BLM, SITLA, and extract information from those sources. But I think if we want to do that, that's a level that maybe perhaps it's above us, that we would have to include other entities in this project, and then maybe look at different apps that could be used, that you could easily access this information and put it on an app on your phone, on a GPS unit, on Google Earth or whatever, however you want to access that information. I just was concerned, and Cheryl was concerned with me also, as we were grabbing, or different entities, different counties, different agencies, different entities were trying to put stuff together, and we weren't all on the same page, I felt. And that this project was a big enough project that we'd have to come up with some type of central place to hold this data, or at least talk and get a direction of which way we wanted to go with it.
Yeah, Scott, I agree. I like the idea of a central location for the data. To me, though, what more important is being able to I guess interface with that data in different ways. Right now, when I go out and I'm going off road, if I'm on BLM, if I want a BLM map, I gotta go download the Avenza app and download their data. If I'm on the Forest Service, they have some of the stuff on Avenza. Some of it is just PDFs that aren't geosynchronized, and then you got a PDF viewer you're using. I use Backcountry Navigator sometimes. I've been trying to avoid using Gaia, but more and more people are using Gaia. So now I've got that app on there. So I've got 4 different apps that I'm using to give me information about the trails I want to go on when I'm out, actually out there, and none of them have access to everything I want. And so to me, I know that the state has very robust data. I just don't know how to get into it and pull out what I want. And certainly none of the commercial apps that are available to me have an ability to do that. And that's kind of where I'm frustrated with mapping is you got all these different entities and they're all a little bit different, and I don't have any way to get the information I actually want in the way I want it. And every time I think I find something, I've got to use a new interface.
Them are valid questions because it has been a mix of different things. But, things have kind of narrowed down to a GPX file and to Google files. It seems like it's narrowed down to that you can have some interface with just about any program with those 2 files. But it looks like Chase has his hand up to make a comment.
Go ahead, Chase.
Yeah, just to provide some of the input that I talked with Scott about is I agree with Ron and Scott in the same instance where there's a lot of things going on with mapping and GPS, and even Scott and I had a an interaction with one of the dirt bike riders out by Chimney Rock, and I felt like I was doing like a bunch of survey questions, but it was really just to see what our users are using, and this is just a anecdotal evidence through here. But I asked, they're from Washington. I'm like, hey, how'd you hear about this? What made you come to this place in Utah? And they're like, well, the draw was in Moab, but we wanted some other bike riding, so we started to expand out on their way back. So, and that's what a lot of out-of-state users are doing, and that's interesting to me that they'll be drawn to these bigger places but go to these other places. And I asked, well, how did you hear about this? It's through the mapping services, especially through the new ones on their phones, and kind of the new user group that's coming through is the so Gaia GPS. He was particular to Onyx Off-Road. But he knew of all the multiple platforms going in. So he looked at Onyx Off-Road, and there was GPX and KML files in the specific area that we were at. And that's very similar to Gaia's. You can actually search within those app services of places and KML files and downloading them from multiple resources. And so that's what we got to look at is how do we make sure that resource is the correct resource, and how does the state of Utah make sure that that's a sponsored source that all land managing agencies can be a part of. And that's just one facet of mapping. Very much Avenza is still a capable map service that I utilize. I use 3 just because that's what I'm into. But if we can provide the hub of information, like Scott was saying, of not just one resource, but multiple resources, having the resource to push them to the right website within the Forest Service or the right app service that they like and making recommendations that's been vetted through the state of Utah versus, just having one type of source out there. So Avenza can still be a part of it. These app services can still be a part of it, as well as, paper maps from the land managing agencies where we can get them there, just so we can get all the users, because we're all different ages, we're all different diversities, we're all, we want to be able to cater to all of them because we're such a diverse group within our own community, and we all have different ways that we want to get out and recreate in these areas. And so if we can give them the best information in whatever resource they like, that's what I see going forward with this. And that's what we kind of, in the future need to discuss on how do we make that tangible and how do we make it available, in our area of influence.
Tara, you had your hand up, and then Jason, we'll go to you after Tara.
Yeah, so several years ago, our office bought Strava data, and we worked with, they were then called AGRC, now it's UGRC, for creating map of various types of trails. And I'm not sure about the quality of the OHV or the motorized trails, but the thought was at that point, and we had been working also, we'd sent it out to the Forest Service, BLM, and the counties. They were able to scrape off what they said is not a legal trail, because that can be a danger with using Strava data. There's stuff that's not really a trail, or that should not be, or should be closed down. So that is a start, and we've got those files. I think the thought is that we could have layered trails, so there can be motorized, non-motorized trails. The thought is that equestrian trails would be included in that, but if we wanted to get more sophisticated and say, okay, here's mountain biking trails, here's hiking, here's equestrian, that's great. But I think if we're going to do this, let's work together and create these layers so that, and that these can go into the proper mapping apps and be able to be useful for a number of different types of recreation users. Oftentimes, you find within a family the desire to use various types of those, right? So you can put it all together, or you can keep them separate.
Jason?
So after last meeting that we had, I presented the questions on the mapping on a Facebook group that is motorcycle users throughout the state, and I got a lot of mixed response. A lot of people use Onyx, a lot of people use Avenza, but a couple people posted Idaho's trails, and I shared a link in the messages to Idaho's trail mapping, and they have a very extensive basically GIS map that lays everything out. And I think it's definitely worth looking into, because it all is, it looks like it's been at least vetted through all of the land managing agencies, their state lands, their SITLA and BLM, or not the SITLA, Forest and BLM, and they've got it divided up into the different uses as well, and links on each one of the trails to, it could be a downloadable version that could be put on Avenza, or it just could be a link to the website that hosts it, or whatever it is. I think it's definitely worth looking into, and that would be at least a good starting place for us to look at.
So with ArcGIS, I know that as a state, we already have a contract or an agreement where we can utilize that service. So I for one actually have access to ArcGIS, no idea how to do mapping on it, but I know that there are GIS people within our department that specialize in that.
Yeah, and this one may be worth looking at, putting out a proposal or an RFP to do this kind of work. And, that would be a huge undertaking. for just staff to do something like this. I think it would definitely be worth putting something like this out to bid, and let's see what kind of options are available that way. So.
Hey, Jason, this is Tyson. Um, so this ArcGIS repository, I guess you could say. I guess a couple of questions. Is it available offline? And if it's not, can you get the trails and the different files that'll be supported by Avenza Maps or any of these other mapping softwares? How would that work? What do you think about that?
So from my perspective, and we used ArcGIS for our trails master planning in the Uinta Basin for Daggett, Uinta, and Duchesne counties, and it's very very tangible. You can do a lot of different things with it. You can have it to where you can download areas offline or use an offline version of the map, and it takes some just a little bit of coding to make that happen. But the better option likely would be to have trail maps or files that are linked to each one of the web-based map shapes in the map, so that you could click on one of those and it gives you the option to download the GPX or the KML or KMZ or whatever file format or Avenza. That would just become, as it's available. It would take quite a bit to generate those files for every single trail throughout the state, but a lot of the trails already have that. So it's just a matter of making the links between what's already out there and what would be on the map. So yeah, I can definitely see that being an option.
Fred, you got your hand up?
Yeah, we just created the mapping for the Paiute Trail and the Gooseberry and the Great Western. And there's changes we had to go through and everything else. Even the Forest Service had names down wrong and everything else. And so we went back with several pages of corrections to get the map that we're using right now to be right current. But yeah, we had to get with the BLM and everybody and combined everything together to make the map book that we created. I'm in the process right now. Avenza's got 78 pages of maps that represents the Paiute Trail system, which also is the Gooseberry and the Great Western and the Parker Mountain. So now we're trying to get a full-blown map made so I can do a one-pager of that system. And we're just waiting now for the Forest Service and the BLM to finalize that for me, especially on the Parker Mountain stuff. So I know, but every trail has a name. Why couldn't you list them on the, say, the Utah State Parks had a web page that we could list every name of the trail system? And you just go on and click on that, and that gives you the trail system. That's all I got.
Can I say something real quick?
Yes.
I think some of the issues is, we have, probably well over 80,000 miles worth of trails. So to make sure that they're easily searched on, the way I search for trails is I'll go to, something will draw me in a certain area, like some of our other users, they're using our high use areas. So Moab's obviously been one of them. Sand Hollow's been one of them. The Paiute Trail system. Every one of these are kind of almost becoming some of them are world renowned and some of them are becoming there. So it's a draw for these other places. So if we could somehow draw them into these other places through that, and that can help fix some of our tourism stuff, is getting them into these less traveled areas so that we can spread the use among everyone. And I'd just like to, can I present something real quick? I was bringing up, so what our state system use with our rangers is we use Gaia for a few things. And I'll actually bring up my our tracks with Scott, our ride by Chimney Rock. which isn't all of them because these are just files I downloaded online because these rider groups and everyone, they'll just throw these KML files. Now, whether they're correct or not, some of them are not. So you have to do some homework on the back end to make sure that you're not going in areas that you're supposed to. But we did start on Sitla land, and I believe this is our track right here. It's right here. We're able to have our track, and it was dirt biking. It was on May 12th, and it gives a lot of data in this. So it's 34 miles. And then the cool thing on this is you can actually export this to anyone else or any website or anything. It's kind of an ease is just sharing it. And this is all mobile date or mobile applicable. And you can log on to your computer. So you have your laptop version as well as your mobile version, and you can share it with any of your friends. And it's pretty easy if they need to know of a place to go. So you can share right here and also take photos along the trail system at certain points and just have real-time data, and you can download all of this offline. So that's kind of what I mean. What the future of mapping is, it is at the ease of our fingertips, and that's just one of many ways people are accessing these trail systems. I usually ask every time I go out, how do you navigate the trails? And I ask multiple groups. Probably 7 times out of 10, it is of some source with one of these app services. So if it's most likely these app services, this is something we got to look at as what the trend is now and how we, best bring that service to, the users so that they're using it right. That's a big thing that we want to come across is we want them to access trails legally and responsibly. And I think that's the biggest thing that we need to do whenever we're providing any type of trail mapping to anyone.
Yeah, I hate to make everything all about me, but but when I think about this, I always, I always look at my personal, like the way I want to use maps and the way I see other people using maps. And Chase, you said something earlier that what we want to do is make sure we have the correct resource, because when I go out, I normally have a trail I already want to do. I already know where it's at. I already know how it's rated. I don't need a map for that trail. There's a sign, or I know where I'm going. But when I use a map, what I'm looking for is, all right, I'm halfway through this trail. What happens if I turn down that road? And am I going to find a dead end? Am I going to find a place to go camping? Or maybe I know a feature, something I want to hike to, and I want to get my Jeep a little bit closer to it. But when I do that, I want to make sure that I'm on a legal road and a legal trail. And I'll go out with a group, and they'll have their Gaia up, some map they downloaded, or they'll have something they downloaded. And we're going along, and they want to turn down, but I've got the Forest Service map up on my Avenza, and I'm like, no, we can't go down that. That's not on the MVUM. Well, there it is. There's the trail. Is what they'll tell me, and this is what the map that I have says we can go on, and I correct them and say, well, it's not a legal trail. Maybe at one time it was. But I want to stay on the legal trail, and I want to explore as far as I can possibly explore, just as unfettered as I can, but yet I want to stay on the legal trail. And that's where I run into the most problem is, a lot of stuff, like you say, you go and you search, it's like, well, where's such and such trail? Well, what if I don't know the name of the trail, or I don't even know where I want to go? I just want to go drive around for a few hours and explore and find a remote campsite. For me, I want to do that and make sure I'm on the right trail. So I appreciate your comment about how there's a lot of resources out there, but if we're going to have a state sponsored or a state hosted source, we want to make sure that the resources that the state is hosting is the correct resources. Yeah, that's my comment.
Here about a month ago, Green River hosted a motorcycle rally, a dirt bike motorcycle rally, and they went through the process. Most of the land that was being used was BLM, and so they went through the Price BLM office and got routes approved and put a GPX KMZ file together and shipped it out. And most of those people had that on their phone. Essentially, over the years, I've always had a GPS unit, and that's what I've used. But it looks like it's migrated away from a GPS unit to your phone now. And so on Tuesday, I spent a bunch of time down in the Santa Fe Desert with a biologist looking at some routes down there and plant life. And when I could pick up cell phone coverage, I was using Google Earth. With a bunch of data on there, but there were places I couldn't pick up cell phone coverage, so I was using Avenza. And so there is some issues with not being able to pick up data like with Google and to house information. My knowledge is dated knowledge that I have. I still have my Garmin GPS unit on my bike, and everybody else is using their nice big phone, on their screen, on their machine. I was looking at Chase's vehicle, and he had a big screen about this big, and I think, man, that'd be perfect to have one the size of a map on the front of your handlebars so you know exactly where you're going, but you'd probably tip over and crack it. So that probably wouldn't be reasonable to have one that size. But and another issue, and this is a big issue that we deal with all the time, is the Santa Fe Desert. It's taken 15 years to complete the travel plan. And as soon as it got completed, it went into a lawsuit. And so additional routes were closed, and they're still looking at it. And I'm sure that this lawsuit will go on for a little bit longer. So I don't know how you mitigate those things. I'm not sure. This will be a project that's in flux all the time. I'm not sure we'll ever complete it. But I was surprised at what the state had in there. I went in and looked at stuff. It looked to me like about a quarter of the state already had data in there. And I went and clicked on some of the trails I have ridden on, and some of the hiking trails they had listed. Hiking trails, they had motorized trails in there. It appeared to me that the metadata in there needed to be maybe cleaned up a little bit. And how you get on the internet, if you did a search, you pop on the internet and says, well, I want to go ride in the Chimney Rock area. Well, I'm not sure what would pop up and how we could direct people to this source to gather data from. That's a level above me. It would get into people that deal with that, to how you direct people to go to this specific source to get information.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, Scott, is how do you drive the information to the people who need to use it? I mean, really, us as a user group, as different user groups on this council, we all have different ways we want to use it. But, we're all digging and searching and spend hours researching. And hopefully we're not a problem. We're not the problem on the ground.
Well, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, Jason, let's say you wanted to come and ride at down in my area at Chimney Rock. What would you do? If you says, hey, I'm going to go ride at Chimney Rock, what would you do to try to figure out where to go ride?
So I've actually looked into that. Funny that you mention it. And it's just, I actually came across it while going through just a website that's all on its own, just a nonprofit website that that hosts trails, dirt bike trails throughout Utah, and that's kind of how I came across it. I was able to download all of the KMZ files for that. Whether they're actual designated routes or not, I don't know, but they're saved on my computer on Google Earth, so I'm aware of them that way. But yeah, it's kind of a interesting one. Usually for me, it's just a Google search. So whatever comes up first on Google is what I typically go for.
So to include the question is, so you headed down that way, what would you do with the data?
So I use an app that's different from just about everybody else that uses, but basically I just download a KMZ or a GPX file and put it on my map software on my phone, and I'm able to follow it that way.
That seems to be what most people are doing, is downloading a KMZ or a GPX file, and it seems to me those have become the standard files to ship to people to do different things. So
Chase, you had a comment?
Yes, I just wanted to kind of add along with both Jason and Scott. So I'm going to present my screen again on how I've done it and how I see a lot of our community. Scott and I actually, the dirt bike riders that were from Washington, I asked them, I'm like, what do you do to research your places? And there's a couple things. They do exactly kind of what Jason does they do a search on Google, Chimney Rock single track. Here's a website, Dirt Bike Utah. Now, whether it's legitimate or not, it actually looks like a good looking website, but they have photos, they have videos of it, which I do watch videos. I'm like, oh yeah, that part of that trail actually looks really fun, And then they have the maps of the files, the GPX, the Google Earth, and an actual map. And that's what a lot of the community is doing. And this is just, one facet of the community, but I do it as well as, with snowmobiling. I do it with side-by-sides, ATVs, 50-inch track, all those. And then I'll do a Google search just like this. And then I will look at these videos and decide whether it's something I'm into or not. A lot of these videos are also being pushed through Instagram. That's just, social media. The way they're forming these social media websites is through their interests. So if their interests are like dirt bike and snowmobiling, which mine are, most of my feed it is just being fed into me, whether I want to look at it or not. But they're showing these areas, and then I'll look. I'm like, oh, that's in Utah. That's down by the swell. And then I'll start doing research there. That's just one way to get people interested in that. And that's a way where we need to, look into making sure these trails are actually good, or at least, getting a resource that, when they see state of Utah, that's legitimate, or Division of Outdoor Recreation trail sponsor, or not sponsor, trail, approved, that little check mark of that's what we would need. So just like Scott and Jason are doing, that's how our community is accessing these trails. That's what's going on. The paper maps are still viable, and I think the really responsible users are using paper maps. I carry an extra paper map with me just in case I get lost and my phone goes dead, because that's the ranger in me. You have 3 different sources to navigate, the backcountry, but not everyone's like that. And a lot of people are just using that one source of whatever their preference are.
Tara, has the state talked much about what we're talking about? I mean, at a broader level?
So we've been trying to work this out, and I think this is something that Chase and I need to go forward on. Right now, we've been working with the the AGRS group, or the UGRS, they've changed their name. And they've been doing some story mapping for us. But I think that this is something where we need to get them the raw data, trail data material, so that we can create the files needed so that it can be put into apps. As Jason was talking, I just sent him a chat and saying, we got to get together with Nathan Coda and Zach. Do you guys know them? Zach Beck with the AGRC folks. And they are the ones that we can work with the mapping data and do this. Now, we did not have, after that time where we bought the Strava data, we did not have the money up until now to do this. And I think it would be good if Chase, if our resources were combined with the FIG money that could be set aside for mapping, and we can combine our money that can be used to fill in the blanks, with the non-motorized trails, and really create something that would be awesome. And but yeah. And I would also add that, it's great to go to a website and see, the full map of the state. But I think, as Chase points out, it's a really good thing to just pull down the information that you need for the given area that you're at. There's plenty of data there. And I really, as a former geography major, I would really love to see this accomplished. So,
Yeah, we probably need to wind up the discussion for this meeting, but Jason, you have your hand raised. And then hopefully everybody's watching the chat on the side. Cheryl and Chase have made some good comments. Jason, let's go to you, and then let's wrap this up.
Yeah, I think it's funny that you showed that website, Chase, the dirtbike.com, because that's where or Utah Dirt Bikers, that's where I got that information from that I was talking about. But I think that if it was something that was just a centralized GIS database, that it would be real easy to have links to websites just like the Utah Dirt Bikers, and even to the Outsider Zone, where they've done a lot of the videoing of the maps, and the Utah.com people that are working in our area to do some of their videoing of the trails. It would be really beneficial to be able to combine it all into one central database, and I can see that definitely being within the realm of possibility. So that's all.
All right. Thank you. I just want to make a comment on what Cheryl was talking about with bumping into people, and they show up to an area and now they want to know where to go. And that's a different user group than maybe some of us on this council, but that's a really, really, really big user group. They've got a machine, they've got a Jeep, they've got something, they just got it, they want to get out, and they heard Moab's a cool place to go, so they go down to Moab, and now they're going to explore. They go to the San Rafael Swell, and now they're going to explore. And a lot of people really do show up, and they're in a hotel or they're in a parking lot, and that's the point at which they decide, okay, what should I do now? And so whatever the solution is needs to consider that user group as well, because they're the ones that make naive decisions that hamper all the efforts that we do. Everybody on this council, I trust every single one of you are being responsible and careful, and your user groups are, but there's a much bigger number of people than just us who are the ones that are causing trouble, maybe not intentionally. I'm not accusing anybody, but they don't know where to go, so they just go and they follow it. They follow a trail. So having a solution on the ground is excellent too. So it sounds like certainly we need to have a broader discussion of a type of product that as a council, we would like to see happen. And Chase and Tara, sounds like you need to have a discussion of the type of product that the state would like to see. And hopefully you're interested in our input as users, what that might look like. We have on our agenda to set a meeting date to discuss in more detail what type of product as a council we would like to see. We also have our next agenda item is to set a date for a site visit at Southwestern Heritage Center. And perhaps those had ought to be the same date. So we have a meeting, we do a site visit, and then, you know, meet at a conference room or something and have this meeting. What is the council's thoughts on that as far as picking a date? Do we want to use is it the Survey Monkey or no, the doodle poll or something like that? Maybe Rachel could send something like that out, or do we want to make that decision right now? What are your thoughts?
I think a doodle poll is best. Just put like 12 dates or whatever, 10 dates, I don't know, and then just send it out to everybody and then go from there. Where we don't have everybody here, I don't know if it's wise to make a date today. And I would like to look at my calendar and plan things out, and I would like
Maybe
that if
what
possible.
we could do on that site visit is we can email Rachel with a couple of possible dates after we've all looked at, instead of her tossing out every weekend between now and the end of summer. We just each send her a list of dates that work for us, see what works for the majority.
Yeah, we could do. Can we do that? Rachel, we'll send you. We'll all that are part of this group right now send you some dates, and then the doodle poll will be smaller.
Okay.
Does that work? Tara, you had a comment? Or
I was
question?
just going to say you might want to add to future minutes a discussion about a statewide tourism effort. Chase, Rachel, and I have been talking with the Office of Tourism, who also have something with Tread Lightly, but something to really bring tourists to some of the counties and the areas of the state that really want more OHV tourism, and combine that with some education aimed at tourists to kind of head off any future issues with, I guess, bad behavior on their part, maybe more like ignorant behavior, shall I say. I just had a discussion with Representative Scott Chu in Uena County, and he was really ticked about some issues with OHV users riding all over and destroying what would be fodder for the cattle. And when you get ranchers upset, that's when we're going to be in real trouble. So I think, combining it with some kind of education stuff, I don't know what that would look like, because that's not my instinct. I'm more about, let's market, let's get you here. This is great. How to kind of good educational efforts to keep people on the trails and so forth without coming across as preachy is going to be a delicate balance. But hopefully there might be some good input from this committee. So if you want to think about that, and Chase and Rachel and I have some meetings to come with the Office of Tourism, and the resources that they have to do anything from statewide tourism campaign to out-of-state tourism campaigns, and get people to come to Central Utah, the San Rafael Swell, Uinta area, some of the High Desert Trail, some of these areas that really want more tourists. So just for a future discussion.
Yeah. We maybe put that on the agenda, tourism,
Yeah.
statewide tourism effort. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, we've been looking into per diem reimbursements for our advisory council. So if we do go on this, it's my understanding, Tara, that I think we got the green light on it.
We
for
did
this.
get the green light on it, yes.
Yes, so for this advisory council, if we have something here or a site visit somewhere, if you're traveling over 100 miles, we can reimburse, I think it's hotels, mileage, as well as
Meals.
meals. Yes, meals that are not provided by us. So yes, we'll be doing that going forward. So any meeting that anyone is traveling over 100 miles with, I'll likely be sending out more information, especially once we decide on a meeting date for our next either grant cycle or the site visit type thing, with more information on how to go about that.
Yeah, we, Rachel, we can have state travel book their hotel rooms. We could do it with your P card, so they don't even have to worry about that. They may still take a credit card for so-called incidentals, but that could be covered. And then you would submit for, there's a standard so much per mile that can be reimbursed. It would be just measured from your home to that area and back. And then the state per diem, which is, kind of set every so many years. But if that works for you all, but we know you're so much more valuable than just that, but it's the least we can do.
Scott?
I have a couple questions. I have kind of beat my fists on the table the last year about our meetings being longer than just an afternoon meeting. What would happen, and it would be nice to have some input from the council, that what if we did a Friday meeting and we came in the morning and discussed things that we need to discuss like this, and then in the afternoon we do the grants, and then we leave at 5 o'clock and go home?
So I created a list of potential fiscal incentive grant changes, and one of them is, and I don't know how much I don't want to say too much right now just because things are still in the works and we don't have anything set in place, but ultimately our intentions are ideally to go to biannual, where we would have a full day grant meeting, lunch would be provided, depending on per diem times for food, meals. We would be able to provide breakfast as well as dinner. So again, that's where that per diem would come in for traveling. My intentions were the third Friday after the closing date. So we'd have just like a set date for our meetings. So we didn't have to send out a doodle poll every time. We're still working on that. We haven't really come to a conclusion, but it's coming. It's coming.
So let me ask, could I ask on the council who would like to do a kind of a day meeting, all day meeting when we do these grants? I personally would like to do that because I think we need to discuss other things than just the grant.
I'm okay with that, but I just want to make sure that we're not having a meeting for meeting's sake also. But I do like the idea of having the opportunity to have a little bit longer meeting, more time to discuss. But again, I think we got to be very careful not to just say, hey, we're going to go till 5 o'clock, come hell or high water. It doesn't matter. We're going till 5 o'clock. If we can get done at 3, great. And I also think that we need to have a timekeeper on some discussions. There have been meetings where we've gone to where we have spent 45 minutes on one grant. And so I think it would be appropriate, and I think that's even in Robert's rules to that allows us to have a timekeeper and stick to that time.
Brody, that's all fine and dandy, but there are occasions when we have grants that need a discussion for 45 minutes. I'm not wanting to differ with you, but there are times that we need-
Definitely we give time to what needs to be given time, but we don't, if we start seeing that we're just rehashing the same thing, but from a different angle that the majority has already got a set mind on, I don't think we need to beat a dead horse.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
That's where we could have a timekeeper that's or our chairperson that says, okay, we have talked long enough about this. The majority continues to agree this certain direction. Discussion's done. Let's move on to the next one, because if not, we could say we're going to be there till 5 and then be there till 9 p.m. So we've got to make sure that we're just not beating dead horses with whatever we do.
We could leave at 3 o'clock and then we could go spend money someplace in Provo, right? No, 2 extra hours, right? So I have one other question. Have we lost council members?
So, yes. So Eric, his term expired last month because it wasn't on the agenda. Ultimately, he wants to do a second term, but we have to have that discussion when it's on the agenda. So ultimately, Eric will likely be back. Tommy George resigned because it was just too overwhelming. He wasn't able to commit enough time with his job. So he ended up resigning. And then I haven't heard from Kirk the past 2 grant meetings. Haven't really heard anything. I don't know what's going on with him. But ultimately, we'll have to open up applications for Tommy's position unless at our discussion, Eric wants to take over that position.
So that would be on the
point that we just don't have a meeting to have a meeting, that maybe we set an agenda, say, hey, we have this mapping issue to deal with, or we have this other issue to deal with, and that is going to be discussion. Maybe we'd bring specialists in to teach us some stuff. Maybe we invite a GIS specialist or somebody that knows apping or whatever, and we would schedule that. And if we didn't have something, well, then we'd have a shorter meeting.
Well, as a public meeting, really we're only to discuss what's on the agenda. So if there was an issue, we would need to bring it up and put it on an agenda for the next meeting. So I think we resolved that concern just by, if there's something really important that we all want to talk about, like this issue of mapping, we put it on the agenda and then we make the time for it. But yeah, we wouldn't have just an open meeting where we discuss whatever. I don't think we even have the latitude to do that. But let's go ahead and wrap this up. Last item on our agenda is a program and division update. Tara, if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about what you have going on, and then Chase, we'll let you kind of tell us if there's any more program update that you have for us as well, and then I'll let Rachel tell us if there's anything going on from her position that we need to know about, and then we can go ahead and adjourn. Tara?
Yes, so we are going to be moving over to the Division of Outdoor Recreation officially on July 1, and that we being myself, India Nielsen, and Patrick Morrison, and hopefully also our now intern who's turning out to be a really great asset. As far as OHV related issues, I think, number one, we had our grant program. We were able to give out $11 million in funding. We are going to be exploring, and I've had it approved to change the match requirements for our grant programs so that it will be according to how the size of the county, as well as the average per capita income in that county. So that should help. These can be very complementary to FIG. I do know that, in one case, we've got Circleville who wants to do an OHV trailhead, but they can use our grant to match against this one and vice versa. Also have the High Desert Trail meeting coming up. We've got 1 million set aside for that. Really excited to get that going. Mike Thomas and his team have Carsonite signs. They've got a great logo with the antelope on it. So we're going to mark up 700 plus miles of trail connecting it. We would like to have one trailhead per county, with enough parking, sufficient parking, and kiosk information and so forth. Obviously, that might be something in the future that you all might get grants on as counties say, yeah, this is working out really well for us. We'd love to develop maybe another trailhead. So be thinking about that. Again, Chase and I are going to be working together on a number of issues, the mapping, and I should include Rachel with that, the mapping and the marketing campaign, tourism campaign, anything that I can be a resource with. And then Brett Stewart and I have been talking about a number of potential legislation, and I know he's grabbed Chase for talking about an opportunity for snowmobiles. The registrations from snowmobiles do go into the restricted account. So it's a matter of, are they in the FIG account? Secondly, we talked about, Brett and I've been talking about an Adopt a Trail program and what that might look like. And lastly, search and rescue funding. And if we can add some money from another source to bring in motorized funding. But I really, really need to get information from sheriffs and say, what is it that the Utah Search and Rescue Assistance Board, that's over in the Department of Emergency Management and chaired by Sheriff Curtis, is not providing? Can you buy drones, for example, to help with the search and rescue? And that's one of the kinds of things that I'd love to know about. So if you all are hearing in your areas that search and rescue is hurting, I want to hear it. And at some point, I'd like to pull all the sheriffs and search and rescue teams to see if they have all the needed resources that they need. So that's it for now.
Thank you. Chase, any additional updates or words of wisdom?
I don't know if there'll be words of wisdom, but I'll say them anyway. No, I'll echo what a lot of Tara's been saying. We're working together on a lot of things. It's great to have kind of a team effort on, especially that high desert trail system, and as well as all the tourism and mapping stuff. So we'll be kind of heavy with that. Additional stuff that we are working towards is I forgot to mention with our trail crew, where we are adding trail cat operators. We should be expecting a new trail cat here in the next few months, and so that's something I really want to provide as a resource to all land managing agencies. Is I want our trail crew to shine and be a plug-in wherever we need a solution, to actually have a lot of field days and facility development and actually trail development out there. So that's something that we're really working heavily on. I believe in Mike and his team can do that. We just need to make sure we give them the resources so they can do that. So I've been really working heavily with that and letting them take a lead on that. We are scheduled out pretty heavily this summer. Something else I've been working on is our rangers are going to be out there actually getting real live updates on these trail systems. Not only are they out educating and enforcing the law, but when they see a trail in poor condition, they've been assigned to actually update our trail crew and say, hey, this trail needs work. How can you make it happen with the land managing agency? And so we are actually getting reports of trail repairs needed on a weekly basis. So I think that'll be something that can really catch on and be cool because they're out there every day. You know, I came from that ranger world, and so I always saw some areas where I'm like, hey, this could use some work, and I think they can be a great resource to actually get that out there. Some other things we've been working on specifically is a lot of these private entities as well as the sheriff's office are mentioning a OHV problem, and I don't think they're more or less of a problem, but it's a place where we need educational efforts, and so they're reaching out to us, and we're able to plug in some resources. I've tasked a lot of my area sergeants to contact these private property entities where there is OHV use, as well as the sheriff's office, and in particular one sheriff office. I won't name them in this meeting, but there is a sheriff that has asked for help, and he's typically hasn't asked for help, and he's asked specifically the Division of Outdoor Recreation to help out, which is really neat, an opportunity. So I have an area sergeant there to assess the situation, not just out there to patrol, but to actually see what we can do to develop and guide our OHV users into a proper area. So that's going to be a neat opportunity for our division as well as our trail crew to actually, get some facility updates in an area where we can guide our OHV users to some places that we do want them to go legally. So that's something I've been working heavily on there to add on all the other things that we're working on. So we're going to be busy, but I think we can definitely do it. So.
Great. Hey, could you address the question Brody brought up in the chat about on July 1, what is the change that's going to be happening, and what is the structure as far as we're concerned as a council?
Okay, so it may be, I'll explain, and then maybe Tara might need to clean it up a little, and Rachel, but so the supervisory structure will be pretty similar to what we're doing now, but we're absorbing people. So it's kind of that supervisory structure will, start with our director. Pitt Gruey will be our director. Underneath that will be multiple entities. So we will have me as the OHV program manager, and then Ty Hunter as a boating program manager. So we'll have those programs on that, and that's kind of that level that we have a bunch of programs. So Tara over with the grants and her, crew underneath her. And then underneath me will be Mike and the trail crew. Ty will have our shop mechanics as well. Yeah, just our shop mechanics to, service all of our stuff. Those shop mechanics will actually service all the OHV equipment that our rangers use and that we need for the trail crew program. And then we have our law enforcement structure on another end with Chief Bullock, Steve Bullock, and underneath him, we have a lieutenant of commercial boating, and we have 6 area sergeants that are scattered throughout the state. And I need help with the others, Tara, on the people bringing over from the Office of Outdoor Rec. So maybe you can help.
Yeah. Let me help you. Also, so I will be over the grants and planning, and we're going to hire a new state outdoor recreation planner. And I've been involved in a number of planning efforts, with Zion, East Zion, and west of Zion National Park. Been working with Phil Lyman with the North Lake Powell Accord issues, and I'm bringing in some help with that. And then we're doing the state outdoor recreation plan, and Chase is on our outdoor adventure commission as well as Ty. Okay, so then there's going to be India Nilsson, who will be covering education and outreach and events. So she'll be, kind of, and the education does not include OHV education unless you want it to, Chase. Whatever you don't want on your plate, you can put over with her. But, hers is very much focused on family-friendly recreation things, working with children in introductory recreational activities and being outside instead of in front of a screen. And then we have our Outdoor Recreation Summit, which would be in its 9th year, but this will be the first year within the Division of Outdoor Recreation. So it's going to be bigger, better, Oh, and I forgot our little thing called the Utah Trails Forum, which is, I'm very concerned about, making sure that everybody knows the latest in trail maintenance and trail design and how to, really mobilize volunteers, keep everybody safe. As they're out there volunteering, some for the first time. We're working with Utah State University and their extension service and have created some courses with them. And this year, bringing in the OHV community is awesome. So I'd love to invite any of you that would be interested. It will be June 16th and 17th down in Cedar City. And I'm just really excited. And if we can see the interest from the OHV community in taking part, like I say, maybe there's something we can do with USU Extension Service to really standardize the training. So anyway,
So, Tara?
that's what we're doing. Yeah,
This training is in Cedar City?
it is. It is at SUU.
So
But
like I'm in the local club down here in Cedar City. This is the
Mhm.
first time hearing of it. And
Yeah, I need to get out the word. So who do
it'd
I?
be good to get the word out.
Yeah. So who can I send this to?
You could send it to me. You can send it to Mike Worthen with Iron County.
Oh yeah.
And you ought to
Mike
send
should
it
have
to
gotten
the-
it, but because he's on
You
my.
should have should send it out to every club, OHV club in Utah.
Yeah, and I sent it to my friend Phoenix, and I haven't heard back from him after that. But
I don't know who Phoenix is, but
Phoenix Roberts with Salt Lake Off-Road Expo, but maybe he doesn't have all your information.
like Old State Parks website used to have every OHV club in Utah listed there with contact information. So the information's there somewhere. But
Okay.
even if you just did a search for Utah OHV or ATV clubs, you're gonna pull up. Beaver's got one. Garfield County has
Oh, I
one.
will
Spear County
definitely
has
do
one.
that. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
exciting.
I'll share that link with you. I know where it is on that.
Okay.
And then, did you need us to? I mean, does
I
this
would
need to
love
be
to have
shared
you
public
share it. Yes.
as well? Because we can share it on our OHV page
Okay.
I just
as well.
forwarded the agenda and everything from Office of Outdoor Rec, their MailChimp. I think it went out today.
Yeah,
Actually.
it did.
So I just forwarded it to both advisory councils. So that should
There
be in
you
your email now.
Yep, you did. So you can see there's field workshops and you go out actually on the field. Brody, if you're, and Cheryl, I don't know where the best place to go. We're going to be working with Brian Carter with the Forest Service and Mike to do that OHV trail maintenance field workshop. We may have to use, BLM areas there, but we're trying to get enough machines to get a group out there. I know Chase has got a few. It just really depends on the size of the group. We have topped it. I think 25 is the most we can manage in that. But on the second day, there are courses that have something where it's good for anybody, like master trail planning and really mobilizing the community in that. There's also another one on how to take trail inventory with your phone. And if this is something that the OHV community is interested in, we will continue to build out the OH off-road side of this and get your input on expanding full breakout sessions that are very specialized to the needs of the OHV community. So.
Hey, thank you. Rachel, do you have any?
Before we go, Brody needed us to clarify the structure if the council fell under technically Tara, Chase, or Tara, me, or Rachel.
So it falls under, Rachel's on my team, so it will fall under me. But I would suggest that you continue to be part of this, Chase. This is your wheelhouse, and you continue to provide such valuable information.
Yeah. I think this going forward, it'll be a team effort. So anything to do with like, anything to do within our wheelhouse, as far as, what the OHV program's doing, anything OHV program specific things, I can answer to that and guide there and be that. Rachel will handle all the administrative efforts and stuff like that on the, the grant stuff. So detailed questions on that stuff, I definitely won't know all those. In fact, I will go to Rachel commonly before I answer other people's questions, or I'll just forward that stuff to Rachel, and she will do that to me as well, and as well as to Tara. So we will work as a team, and if there's a question that can kind of go to all of us, we'll answer as a team like we usually do. So that's what it'll kind of be. And correct me if I'm wrong, Rachel and Tara. That's how I see it going.
Yeah, that's how I see it too. And then, as we go forward with the state outdoor recreation planner, and, there's any effort going forward in the future with trying to do a real regional trail, and trying to get all the ducks in a row for that will be also on our team. So I look forward to that. So.
Brody.
Okay, one last question, just to help me understand from down here in the South. Okay, previously, when we voted on FIG grants, then it would go to the state board for the final approval. Where does it go now? Well, who are those people? So the questions come up several times. Does that group have power to override this council?
So
who exactly by name, who is on that?
okay, so prior to this time, your group recommended these grants to them and they would vote on that. Now the language, you guys are really the final say on these, and you're informing the Outdoor Adventure Commission, but they don't vote on it. It's just a nice to know for them that you've done this. So
can they override this council?
No, the one who can override this council is the director, Pit Garui. And in conjunction, I think, with the executive director of DNR, who will no longer be Brian Steed, sadly.
July 1st. So you guys now have more power than you did before as of July 1. Does that feel good?
Well, it neither feels good nor bad. It just is.
I know, I'm just kidding you.
So
But
one other thing that several of us have talked amongst ourselves about, and we've even talked with Rachel a little bit, is it's in the past, people from state parks sometimes would attend some of the OHV jamborees and things like that. That's kind of gone away. And so what's the possibility of getting you guys to attend some of these jamborees? If you look at what, at least on the OHV side, there's got to be a dozen jamborees throughout the year and rallies. Some of these have 200 to 700 people at them. You start looking at the motorcycle stuff, there's probably about similar. Other groups, there's different things. Can we expect to start seeing you guys attending these and representing the Office of Outdoor Recreation or whatever it is now?
Yeah, I got you. So yeah, I would say so if we can calendar those, but we also want to help sponsor some of those to some extent. Especially if it's been traditional that State Parks has done so before. So, and that may be a kind of a tag team thing between Chase and Mike and Rachel and
the other thing, you've got members here on this council that could under certain circumstances help represent at some of these different events. But I think some of us might not know how to do that. Maybe we feel too timid to do that. but or how to go about doing that. But maybe we can be. I wouldn't go to a motorcycle event. I don't know anything about motorcycles, but I go to multiple. Fred goes to multiple ATV OHV jamborees, and use us, use Scott, use these folks that know these communities, these people, these groups, these organizations to help represent this agency.
Well, that's really a great offer. Can I also ask one thing of this committee? For all of us here in state government, can you also be our eyes, ears, just hearing feedback as to whether FIG grant is covering the issues, RTP, some of these other things that we are doing, whether we are being responsive enough as a state agency to help where the state can or should be involved and be responsive to help your community in help OHV and motorized recreation throughout the state. We want to have your input, and that's something we really value. You're the experts. Of course, Chase is quite the expert in his way, but you're going to hear things that we're not. People may couch their words with us. So please let us know. We want to make these programs better every year. And my thing is to just keep improving. So also on the FIG grant, if there's a way that we can improve that, we want to do so.
Yeah. Tara, I know that Cheryl asked a question there, and I feel as though you have the most understanding of this. It says
okay. So yeah, Patrick and I were looking at that. So this will review FIG and motorized RTP.
Oh, so it's not doing away.
It's not going away, but the non-motorized RTP is going away. Oh, and I should add that we need to have at least one other person on the Utah Outdoor Recreation Infrastructure Advisory Committee. I think I'm going to tap Chase for one of the motorized roles, if he'll say yes, especially since his salary, his time there is covered. But we'll want to have another person representing motorized on that. I will warn you in advance that it is at least 2 full days on the Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant, and then you're on probably one other day of the RTP. So again, we cover all travel expenses and the per diem and so forth, but it is a serious commitment. So before you volunteer yourselves, you should know that. So it is different though on the Utah Outdoor Recreation Grant because we have over hundreds of applications, over 100 applications. Each grant reviewer, each application gets reviewed by 3 primary grant reviewers, and then we meet in for 2 days to give out that money. And each of the reviewers will present. So and they score those, and sometimes we just the committee can just vote to do that top 2/3 or so. So anyway, they try to make it pretty quick and go through that. There are no 45-minute discussions on one, I got to tell you, with that many grant things. So, but anyway, so if that's of interest, why don't you just reach out to me at some point if you'd be interested in being on that. But I just wanted you to know about the time commitment. So.
All right, well, we've covered a lot of ground and we've done it in a reasonable amount of time, I hope. I'd accept a motion to adjourn.
I would make that motion that we go goof off now. So let's adjourn.
Perfect.
Good. All right.
Goodbye,
Hey,
everyone.
thank you all for your time and thank you for being here.
Yeah, have a great weekend.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, bye.